I will call this the Joey Allen fib factory because there's no science in it. It's just Joey Allen's opinion. He loves a minus lens, he loves optometry, and he thinks you're stupid if you ask scientific questions. So he's here trashing anyone and everybody who suggests that prevention's possible, including Ruba Wong. I don't say I've never said exercise. I never said get out of it unless I'm 2050 and make all measurements myself. And I've learned the hard way that truth is not a does not exist in optometry. And I mean it this way. Jacob Rafelson was truthful. The public was ignorant as hell and would never respond to prevention. So that wipes out prevention. And that's why I have fibs where you're dealing with ignorant people. Fibs are tolerated. We can talk about scientific truth separately, but not with Joey Allen. Here goes.
Useful test, if this was going to be like a repeated study to really determine if eye exercises were going to improve vision, reverse myopia, you would want to do a test for axial length. In fact, a lot of eye clinics use this now for young myopic patients. We will measure the length of the eyeball internally and determine and kind of follow that over time, as people who have longer eyeballs with nearsightedness have higher risk for certain eye diseases, right? Cataracts, glaucoma, for retinal detachments, and myopic maculopathy. So you could theoretically measure the axial length at the beginning of this study and then afterward to determine if the axial length of the eye changed because of eye muscle posture or really anything. And I'd want that on top of doing a cycloplegic refraction, on top of doing accommodative amplitudes and divergence testing. Either way, though, even if this creator did legitimately feel like his vision changed within 30 days, that quarter of a diopter change, I bet it was for other reasons, not because of the eye muscle exercises. I don't think that he made this video with malicious intent or to spread misinformation on purpose. I know there's a lot of videos online on every social media channel that kind of talks about these sort of theories, and believe me, there's a lot of different theories of how these type of exercises work. Seems like I don't know where he got these ones from, but it kind of falls onto this idea that somehow the tension in the eye muscles and if you were to relax the extraocular muscles and the muscles on the outside of the eye, that somehow that would maybe change the shape of the eye and reduce the need for glasses. But the vast majority of the time where people do break their glasses, lose their glasses, or maybe just take a vacation from them, and then they come back and say like, hey, I can see better. I don't need as strong of a glasses prescription. It's usually because they have been using their eye muscles internally, the ciliary body muscle, too much, and they are kind of locked in an accommodative spasm, or they are somebody who has been progressively over minused for many years. I thankfully don't see it too often, but this is where you come in to see the eye doctor. Again, they didn't do like a cycloplegic refraction, and they're already somebody's over accommodating during the testing. Doctors are trained not to give too much power, but it does happen sometimes. Some people really love the feeling and the vision they get when they have slightly more nearsighted power prescription. If this happens one year and then they come in the next year or they go to a different doctor and that person then wants even more power because it feels good, and then the next year after that they get even more power, so after 3 to 5 years suddenly they're like a full diopter power over minus, and they usually come in complaining of eye fatigue and they just need a new prescription, and it's like, actually, no, you have too much power, so I actually have to back you off. No joke, that happens quite a bit with new patients that come into our clinic. I will find that they're over minus by other providers. And then some people even make the claim that wearing glasses somehow makes your vision worse, which for adults isn't true. A lot of people who may be walking around for months, even years, with pretty functional vision, but they're maybe not corrected optimally, they see, well enough to get around. They can see their phone, they can see enough to drive, but maybe it's not like perfect, like, oh my God, high quality vision. Then all of a sudden they get glasses and they experience what like high definition hyper acuity looks like. Then they wear those glasses for some time, take them off, and all of a sudden they feel like their vision's worse. Well, it didn't cause a worsening power shift in their refractive error, but it created a mental comparison difference. They just didn't know how good vision could have been at the beginning. And now that they're seeing in this high definition vision, taking the glasses off, they're like, things look so much worse without them. So again, it's more of a mental shift. Now, I know we've covered a bunch of different stuff in today's video. I think the final kind of thing I want to comment on is that while this video and many things online kind of talk about, again, these eye exercises to improve vision, these exercises are very different from what is called vision therapy, or sometimes referred to as orthoptics. And that is a completely different subspecialty in the field of eye care, which are still oftentimes eye exercises, but they're a form of kind of eye exercise physical therapy in a way that's used to help people who have eye muscle movement disorders, such as having strabismus or an eye turn, where a kid may have their eyes turning in a different direction, somebody has double vision, or somebody is recovering from a brain, neck, or head injury or a stroke. Those exercises are not strengthening the eye muscles per se, but they improve the neural communication between the brain and those muscles so that they work in a more coordinated manner. And that can help reduce symptoms of double vision, of eye fatigue, of...
If you've entered a profession where you're making money selling minus glasses, then you must deny everything. Deny science, deny facts, because your lifetime welfare depends on the ignorance of the public not understanding scientific prevention. And I don't mean recovery. I mean avoiding, staying out of the way Rupa Wong is doing it. And that is by never putting her kids in a minus lens. She doesn't badmouth a minus lens, but she will have to use it on you if you let your refractive state become minus. And this is what happens to Joey Allen, who had his nose on the page. Let a kid do that, and he'll go down about 3/4 a diopter each year. And then he'll come around and say, oh, that doesn't have anything to do with it. Or, oh, a minus lens has no effect on the completely normal eye. Oh, the eye is not a dynamic control system. Oh, the public's ignorant. They wouldn't understand. I have friends who deny control systems. In a discussion with that restricted issue of the eye as dynamic systems, positive refraction, they would probably agree with me. But then they will say, yes, but. And by that they mean, yes, but the public's ignorant. It will not take prevention seriously when they're 20, 30. And I agree with them. It is the ignorance of the public that totally destroys all prevention. And of course, then Joey Allen has to trash the layman to prove how totally intelligent and wise he is as a scientist, when all he's doing is selling minus glasses to ignorant people who will never learn, who will never be successful. The only counter to that is, of course, Rupa Wong, who won't argue about it. She just will not put her own kids in a minus lens and will keep their eyes at least 20 inches off the page, which is probably the only thing that will ever work. And I do mean prevention before you start wearing that first minus lens. This is about 35 minutes long. If you can sit through 35 minutes of self-serving rationalizations as to why the minus lens is perfect and never makes matters worse, please enjoy. It was Jacob Rafelson who convinced me to separate science and fact, truth, from the general public, or trying to do anything with the general public. That is simply not possible. So think for yourself. watch the full 35 minutes if you can tolerate it. Thank you.